This documentary, called The North River Yards Shipbuilding History, uses the writings from 1889 of Vernon Briggs to tell facts about the North River Yards. Here, at the mouth of the North River, where the tide meets the Atlantic, every vessel built upstream began its outward voyage. From quiet inland yards miles upriver, ships slid this narrow estuary and passed beyond Massachusetts Bay towards the wider world. For more than 2 centuries, this small tidal river helped carry American commerce across the globe. The chart shown indicates the relative size in tons per year and cumulative tons on the right in red for the North River Yards. Between 1640 and 1872, more than 900 vessels were built along these banks, with an additional 130 built within Scituate Harbor. Together, the North River Yards totaled well over 100,000 tons of shipping. In the single year 1801 alone, 30 ships slid down the ways into this river. Starting at the lower left, the North River begins where 2 inland streams meet, the Indian Head River and the Namaquikisset. It's called by Briggs and known as Herring Brook from Furnace Pond today. From here, it winds northwest through Hanover, Pembroke, Norwell, Scituate, and Marshfield before meeting the sea. The stretch of river in Hanover once held one of the most concentrated shipbuilding districts in New England. 3 charts detailed multiple yards, tonnage, and construction periods. Builders such as Turner, Barstow, Bailey, Palmer raised frames along these banks. Timber from inland forests was floated downriver. Hull frames rose, rib by rib, until entire vessels stood against the sky. Historian Vernon Briggs records that between 1794 and 1804, 278 vessels were built here. From the Route 3 bridge, we head upriver from Norwell to Hanover and Pembroke and towards the headwaters drained from the area. Just over the hill in front of us are 2 bridges in Hanover, spanning the river near the old yards. You can see the 3rd Herring Brook on the lower right. There ahead are the Hanover bridges at the lower right. Pembroke had smaller yards on the east side of the river. Feeding the North River is the Herring Brook on the left from Furnace Pond and the Indian Head River from the right. Many of these small tributaries drain into the North River where they're discharged into the ocean. What we'll do is take a second pass, slow down, and look again at the Hanover area. Just make sure you can see the 3rd Herring Brook for reference on the right. This is a painting of builders creating a vessel that would eventually be slid into the river. Imagine the noise and teamwork it took for this manual labor. Just downstream is the Fox Hill Yard. It produced about 8% of the total ship tonnage on the North River. The Fox Shipyard, active in the 19th century, saw builders including Nathaniel Church, John Palmer, Michael Ford, and William Copeland construct brigs, schooners, and coastal traders. These vessels served trade routes extending from the New England coast to the Caribbean. The yard is located south of Route 3. And let's take a closer look. The brick kiln yard, associated with builders such as Ichabod Thomas and Calvin Turner, produced numerous vessels before and after the Revolutionary period. Among ships tied to the North River construction was the brig Beaver, one of 3 vessels involved in the Boston Tea Party of 1773. A replica is now located in Boston as a living museum of this former Nantucket whaling vessel. The three ships had transported 600,000 pounds of East India tea from London to Boston. Events in Boston Harbor would give the ship a permanent place in American history. Near Bald Hill in the Stetson lands stood additional facilities supporting shipbuilding, including timber staging areas and small construction sites referenced in early river records. 30 years after the Briggs book, additional information was uncovered documenting. The Rogers family operated several yards in Marshfield along this reach of the river between roughly 1790 and 1819, contributing almost 2,000 tons of shipping. Builders such as Israel Rogers, Amos Rogers, and Asa Rogers contributed multiple vessels to the growing American merchant fleet. As seen from the shore, this is a panoramic view of the river as it goes by the old Rogers shipyard. Curtis Wanton Yard contributed approximately 14% of the tonnage built. Its history extended back to the 17th century, including builders such as Edward Wanton, Robert Barker, and Samuel Hart. It was located between the Rogers and Chittenden yards. It represents one of the earliest documented shipbuilding sites on the river. The Chittenden yard, operated by builders including Isaac Chittenden, Obadiah Merritt, and Joseph Merritt, remained active in the late 19th century. Take a look at its location near Second Herring Brook in Norwell and Norris Reservation. 6,500 tons of ships were built, peaking in the 1800s. You can see it looks like the peak period was in the 1830s, but almost 6,500 tons. Norris Reservation is just to the north of the Chittenden Yard. In the land view of the Chittenden Yard, similarly, there's a marsh on the opposing side where ships launched from the ways would occasionally hit. In 1871, Joseph Merritt launched the schooner Helen M. Foster here, the last vessel built on the North River. After that launch, more than 2 centuries of continuous shipbuilding on the river came to an end. Flying downriver with the Norris on the left towards the bend in the river, you come to Blockhouse Reservation, shipyard rather, I'm sorry. The name derives from an early defensive structure that once stood on the riverbank. Turning east, we head towards the Brooks Tilden shipyard near the Union Street Bridge. It connects Norwell and Marshfield. This was another site where multiple vessels were constructed during the peak shipbuilding areas between 1701 and 1848. You can see the Brooks Tilden Yard in the center near the Union Bridge. And again, the chart of the shipyard. It was a smaller shipyard. Total weight probably about 1,500 tons. The ground view with the Union Bridge to the right, and we're looking from the Marshfield side of the river. A very famous yard is the in Scituate, the Briggs Yard at Hobart's Landing. Builders including Cushing, Otis, Briggs produced several notable vessels here, particularly after 1815. Among the most notable was the ship Columbia, which became associated with voyages to the northwest coast and the American trade in the Pacific. Nearby stood the yard of William Taylor, another of many builders contributing to the river's maritime output during the early 19th century. Today, the Route 3 bridge marks the area between Scituate and Marshfield, with Scituate on the right and Marshfield on the left. And you can see approximately 5,000 tons of ships were built in the miscellaneous yards of Scituate. Flying towards the Atlantic, you can see a notable feature. In 1848, the powerful Portland gale reshaped the coastline, opening the river, which used to flow directly south to the sea and form the sand spit that exists today between the third and fourth cliffs of Scituate. This video was taken during an early spring, around May, before the marsh had greened up. This is the Route 3A bridge coming up on Damien Point. Turning south, we enter the South River, a neighboring tidal waterway whose banks also supported maritime industry during the 18th and 19th century. Of course, the break separated the continuous river and made it have two exit points. We're looking towards the south now, with Duxbury Bay in the far background, Plymouth to the right. And soon we'll be coming up to the Hummerock beach area. At about this point, we reach White's Ferry Yard. And White's Ferry's builders included Simeon Keene and the Hall family, and they constructed vessels equaling almost 5,000 tons, primarily for coastal trade. Among them was the brig Norfolk, built in 1833, which represents the South River's contribution to regional shipbuilding. We're just coming up on Hummerock Beach to our left now. Just in closing, after making the big loop, today the North and South Rivers appear quiet. Marsh grass, birds, wooded banks, and winding tidal water. Yet beneath those shores lies the legacy of one of New England's most productive shipbuilding regions. For more than 2 centuries, craftsmen along these rivers transformed timber from inland forests into vessels that sailed to Europe, the Caribbean, Pacific Northwest, and beyond. The yards are gone and the launches ended, but the river and its history that it carried to sea remains.